Hello everyone, it's Matt here, your lovely co-host of Preparing for AI, and I'm breaking with tradition a bit today by doing a slightly different intro because we recorded this episode, which is about where AI has disappointed, just before the release of ChatGPT 5. And while I'm not saying that ChatGPT 5 has or hasn't disappointed, to be honest, I haven't spent enough time working on and using and thinking about it yet. But what it did make us realize when we recorded this episode is that we want to take this podcast now in a slightly different direction. We talk almost every week about seemingly the same kind of issues, and although we apply a different angle to them, what we've realized is quite often the things we want to talk about are different things. Their economics, their politics, their religion, they are, healthcare, and all of these things are kind of influenced and impacted by AI. So we want to keep applying an AI lens to things, but we want to take it in a more broad direction. So from next week, we will launch series 3 of Preparing for AI. And we will have one episode a month where we look at news, we do the kind of updates, and then we'll have one where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. Jonathan, even if that's conspiracies, we'll talk about it, but we'll apply an AI lens to it. So I hope that's something that people will be interested in and will follow us on that journey. We're going to still talk about and think about AI. It's just we're going to do it in a much broader, much wider way. So yeah, keep following, keep listening, and until then, back to normal service for one last time. Welcome to Preparing for AI, the AI podcast for everybody, with your hosts Jimmy Rhodes and me, Matt Cartwright. We explore the human and social impacts of AI, looking at the impact on jobs, AI and sustainability, and most importantly, the urgent need for safe development of AI, governance, and alignment.
Deeply dippy about the way you walk. A contact sport, let the neighbours talk. Deeply dippy, I'm your Superman. I'll explain, because you're my Lois Lane. Welcome to Preparing for AI with me, Brian Harvey.
And me, George Formby.
Ah, they rhyme, almost. Do you know who Brian Harvey is?
I've no idea.
For me, 17. The guy who ran himself over because a potato got in his exhaust or something like that. Is that what happened? That's what I think.
Because a potato got in his exhaust.
Well, that's the story. I mean, we don't know. He might have just been off his head on crack, but that is
most likely
unproven, and that is not a claim. That is just a rumor that we heard.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do not sue us.
Welcome to Preparing for AI. I can't remember if I've said that. We're back from our summer holidays. Jimmy, where did you go?
It's the UK. I think. Was that my summer holiday?
Yeah.
Does that count? It was actually really nice.
Yeah. I know where you went because I also went to the UK at the same time, but our listeners didn't, and they've been writing in their hordes asking about our summer holidays.
Yeah, well, I went to Essex, and it was fantastic, actually. I went to Essex and Liverpool and Sheffield and Manchester. I can't do any of those accents.
I went to Sweden, Worcestershire, London.
Sweden?
Yeah.
That's not in the UK.
No, I know, but I went there.
Oh, okay.
I'm allowed to go to other places. I went to Sweden, Worcestershire and the UK. They were all lovely. Sweden was particularly lovely, but it was the best time I've had in the UK for a long time. The weather was beautiful and it was nice. But it's good to be back, and it's good to be back in the studio. It's been a long time. And we are going to talk about something hopefully interesting this week. We're going to talk about where AI is failing to meet our expectations, or not our expectations, but
everyone's.
Their expectations, people in society, including our listeners.
I don't know what you're talking about. AI is meeting all of my expectations.
Well, it could be a short episode, but you appear to have quite a lot of things on that fake iPad in front of you, so I think maybe you have got some examples. I don't know where to start actually, but maybe I'll just start with like a few examples of things where AI has, I guess, messed up this year as a kind of starting point. We don't necessarily have to just go through those because we can talk more technically, but I said a few examples. So there was the famous one with do you remember Apple's AI generated news summaries earlier this year that were wrongly attributing statements to, I think it was the BBC, and they were apparently listing sports results that hadn't even happened yet. There is an Air Canada chatbot. So apparently this story is quite interesting because it's been going on for 3 years. Apparently it started in 2023 and it continued into 2024. And apparently the repercussions are still going on with legal cases, etc. But basically the airline's AI chatbot misled passengers about a bereavement fund refund policy. And the legal liabilities have been going on for 2 years as they try and sort out the issues with this chatbot. I don't think it took them 2 years to sort out the issues with the chatbot. I think it's more that the kind of case is ongoing. But I thought that was cool. This was a really interesting one. McDonald's AI chatbot leaked the data of 64 million job applicants due to a default password vulnerability. The thing I found most interesting about that was that they had 64 million people who'd applied for jobs. Like, I know McDonald's is a big company, but that's a lot of applications.
This sounds, I mean, for starters, not that I'm defending it, but what's this got to do with AI? Why is that the problem with AI?
Well, it was an AI chatbot. I don't know why the AI chatbot was dealing with the job applications, but the AI chatbot leaked 64 million people. Maybe it developed its own personality. Maybe it was a self-aware AI.
I mean, I do think this. I don't know specifically what happened in this situation. Whether it was just like, can you give me the details of all the other job applicants, and it gave someone all of them. But it is probably going to be a problem in the future. Like it's been proven that AIs can be manipulated into giving out information that they're not supposed to give out. Like that's and it's a really common thing. You've got plenty of the prompter that jailbreaks every single AI
within about 6 hours of releasing the model, right?
Exactly. And so if your company's relying on AI to secure your information, then that's probably a poor strategy, unless you've got some sort of ironclad legal framework around it. But yeah.
There was another similar one. So Replit, REPLIT, that is, which is an AI coding app that I had never heard of. Maybe you've heard of it. So
I've heard of it, yeah.
You have? Okay. Well, it deleted a CEO's entire company database, despite apparently explicit instructions not to modify any code. So this is quite cool because it had violated instructions, destroyed loads of work, and caused operational disruption when it had been specifically told not to do it. So I guess this is less a case of not living up to expectation and rather just like doing something mental that it really wasn't meant to do.
So Replit's very similar to Cursor. I haven't used it myself, but I use Cursor, which I feel gives you a bit more control. Like, that's not the reason I use it, so I'm not going to pretend to be like smart in this sense. But it's interesting because Replit is like an online. Basically, it's a very much online focused version of something like Cursor, where you can build apps and build, develop new capabilities, develop new apps, develop like all sorts of stuff online. Just generally develop, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, Carol.
And it's interesting because one of the differences with Replit, as I understand it, is it breaks down that barrier a little bit, where like with Cursor you have to write you write the code alongside AI, which mostly is written by AI admittedly, but you still have to publish it online. You still have to actually publish your final app, all the rest of it. Replit is designed to even take that step out, so you can just literally write an app and publish it online immediately. And
sounds great. I think we should maybe run an episode on Replit then.
Well, it's great.
I'm genuinely thinking like maybe I'm going to try this.
It is great, but I suppose the danger is the more and more stuff and power and capability you hand over to AI, the more likely when something goes wrong, it's something like this rather than I need to go and like rewrite some code or go back. Like basically, on Cursor everything you can just kind of hit undo. Yeah. Whereas with this kind of stuff, it's the dangers of it, I guess. Like, you still need to be sensible with this kind of thing.
I was just thinking because you challenged the McDonald's example on the basis that was it AI, and I was just thinking of a really good example of that I'd been talking to my brother-in-law about this summer actually, which was do you remember the Wimbledon AI line judge incident? So they had this AI-powered line judge that was accidentally disabled, and then there was a replay of some points and basically they made the wrong decision. And it was kind of put down, I think you're going to say the same as me, it was put down as being an AI issue. Well, no, the issue was that someone turned the AI element off. And so it wasn't working. So the reason for the mistake was AI, but the reason for the mistake was because a human turned the AI off.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't know. So the AI
Stole those line
word-
judges' jobs as well.
Well, yeah, but in general, the word AI gets used quite a lot. I would imagine that the Wimbledon, well, so I would imagine that the Wimbledon system involves AI, but it's kind of probably more around pattern recognition, around, does the shadow of the tennis ball overlap with the line?
Yeah, so Hawkeye and the things we've had in like cricket and we've in goal line technology in football, nobody talks about those being AI, right? They're just technology.
Yeah,
and then suddenly now it's like, oh no,
yeah.
because it's 2025, it's an AI line judge. But
Yeah, I'm a bit dubious
right?
about it being an AI. Like, I don't think it's an AI making a decision. I think they've basically sped up Hawkeye.
Yeah, because what would you? I'm just thinking. Actually, what do you need the AI element for it? Like, let's strip it down. AI is artificial intelligence, so you need that intelligence. But actually,
in terms of Hawkeye,
all you're asking it to do is actually just
is the tennis ball.
Look at where the ball was, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it white or is it
exactly
not white?
And plot it, and then go beat,
so to speak.
Well, anyway, they say it was an AI judge, and I thought it was a good example because they talk about I mean, you may be right, but they talk about the error being because of AI, but actually the error from AI was not because of AI. The error was because a human had failed or had a human apparently had unticked a box. So there was a load of boxes. They'd unticked a box and that box had disabled it. And then they blamed it on AI and said, you see, we need line judges, when the problem is actually what this proves. I'm not saying this is right, but actually what it proves is we need more AIs and less people and for the AI not to have an off switch.
Yeah, don't have the option to untick the box.
Yeah. Let the AI tick the box.
Yeah, but it's probably not AI, to be honest. It's probably a very limited amount of AI. It's probably just like, did the tennis ball overlap with the line? I mean, whatever Hawkeye did before, but they now can do it in real time, so it's much faster and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of AI involved, but AI is like a very overused term for a lot of things.
I'll do two more and then we'll move on from this sort of list of random things that happen in 2025. But the last two, so I thought this was interesting because it's one that has been going on since forever, but Tesla autopilot related failures. So the point here was ongoing into 2025. And I think if we want the ultimate example of where AI is disappointing, it's got to be self-drive vehicles, which like they do exist. And we've said, I haven't been in one, but I've driven alongside them in Wuhan. There's loads of them in Wuhan. There's areas in Beijing that have got them. Obviously, San Francisco has them. I don't know about the UK, but I mean, the self
definitely not.
Okay,
because I was there recently, and the roads are not suitable.
The roads are not suitable. It's the roads are the problem.
Yeah,
AI can't. Yeah,
I don't think so.
Can't get over the potholes, but their self-driving system continues to basically. The example I had actually talked about fatal crashes, which are attributed to failures in the unusual, the lack of an ability to recognise unusual road conditions, and therefore an insufficient driver handoff, which illustrates the critical risks of relying on AI. I mean, I think on this one, to be honest, it's quite difficult to kind of know, it's almost like kind of double blind trial thing of like, okay, well, if there was a human, would this thing have happened? Was it actually because the AI didn't hand it off, or was it just like the situation came and AI couldn't avoid a crash or couldn't avoid an incident rather than it causing it, which is quite a different thing. But I've said all the time, the problem with things like automated vehicles and most AI in general is just going to be like the threshold for humans is like you need to be 98% or 95% right. And we'd accept some failure. With AI, it's like 99.9 and sometimes it's 100%. And any mistake is just going to be like destroys the trust, which I'm happy about because I think we need to destroy the trust. But it's just the fact that AI is going to have to operate on a kind of
such a high level.
Yeah, which is so much higher than what we accept from humans. And every small incident and mistake will be amplified and will be another reason to shut it down and control it, which again I agree with, but it's just it's sort of irrational in a sense.
It's definitely irrational. I mean, if all cars, there is no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it in my mind. if you could transition to a world where all cars are driven by computers rather than humans, AI, whatever you want to call them,
There'd be less crashes.
yeah, there would be less crashes. Like there would definitely be less accidents.
But who controls the system?
Most of the accidents, if not all of the accidents, are caused by people. Now, the big problem is that you can't just go, right, we've got this world where people can drive cars and drive whatever motorbikes and automobiles and all the rest of it, and then immediately go, now we're going to have a world where they're just driven by computers or AIs or whatever. And so the problem is that you have this in between period where people have to coexist with AIs. And so the problem is people are inconsistent, people are irrational. People might drive a car when they're drunk. People might drive a car when they're angry. People might drive a car faster than the speed limit. Of course, we've all done that. Like lo and behold, like we've all driven faster than the speed limit. Probably most of the time. Well, most of the time, yeah. Because the speed limit's like just slightly too low. And also, my speedometer is like, everyone's like, oh yeah, it reads 10% higher or lower or whatever.
My mate reminded me, sorry, I didn't tell you this anecdote. My mate reminded me, my first car was a Renault Clio. It was my mum's old car that she gave me. And the speedometer went like, so it basically didn't stay in one place. It kind of flicked like that. So it would go, like if you're driving at 70 miles an hour, it would flick between 60 and 80.
For anyone who's watching on audio,
my finger.
which is everyone, because
yeah,
we're not
but they're not watching then, they're listening. But anyway.
For anyone who's listening, Matt's flicking his finger.
Yeah, imagine my finger is flicking between the 60 and the 80 miles per hour sign, or kilometers per hour, depending on where you are. And so the speed was 70. And for years, anytime I drove in another car and the speedometer was a normal speedometer, I thought it was broken. Because I thought it wasn't moving. I didn't really think it, but like that's what I felt.
But this is exactly the point, right?
There's nothing to do with AI, by the way.
No, but AI has to the AI we're trying to design has to try to drive in a world which humans live in, and therefore it's by default irrational.
It has to react to humans rather than rational other AIs.
Yeah, it has to react to people driving in that world, and so. It's really actually that makes it way more complicated. Like, and I'm not saying that that's a problem that can't be solved and all the rest of it, but the obvious ultimate version of all of this is that actually no one drives a car themselves. It's just something that's part of the past. You just have to watch Demolition Man. You know.
Yeah.
It was Stallone and
the other one.
Stallone the other one.
Yeah.
It was Stallone and damn.
Is this that thing we were talking about before about trying to find names?
Yeah, but
should we move on?
I'm gonna. No,
you can look it up in the background, or we can pause the podcast and
Snipes.
pretend you found it.
Wesley
Snipes. Yeah, the other one.
Yeah.
So Wesley Snipes, Dolph Lundgren, and Steven Seagal are the other three.
Yes, this particular one we're talking about was Stallone and Wesley Snipes. And we're going to just cut all the rest of this stuff on the side.
I'm going to leave it in.
So Stallone Snipes.
Yeah.
Demolition Man. Fantastic movie, if you haven't seen it. Predicts exactly what we're talking about right now. So instead of like listening to us ramble on for another 20 minutes, just
go and watch Demolition Man. I've got the last one from this section, and I just want to read you this because it's obviously nonsense. And this, like I have to say, like these... Obviously, the preparation for this show was done using AI. I actually decided to use Perplexity today because I haven't used it for months. Oh, yeah. And I just wanted to go back to it. Yeah. And it gave me this fact from 2025. Widespread enterprise AI project failures. About 42% of companies abandoned most AI projects due to poor data quality, integration difficulties, unrealistic expectation, and costly overruns. This marks a sharp increase from 16% 6 months earlier, signalling broad enterprise frustration with AI deployments. If you wanted something to show you that hallucination is still alive and well, I think that bullshit fact is the perfect example. It's unreferenced, so it
sure
doesn't
it
even
is,
have a
yeah.
source. But about 42% of companies abandoned most AI projects due to poor data quality, integration difficulties. So like I say, I was using this as an example, but I actually am using it as an example to show that one of the things where AI is still failing is like ridiculous hallucinations. And we talked about this before, but where you see these numbers, it used to be that seeing a number, a percentage number, yeah, okay, you know statistics are there to mislead you and they're there to manipulate us, but still you see a statistic and you think, okay, it's got a source. Now it's like seeing a statistic that is a random number like that automatically makes you go, hang on a minute, and question the source. I think that's really interesting that it's flipped itself around, that a number has gone from being the thing that gives credibility to the thing that actually raises a kind of red flag.
I agree. I can't remember what it was, but you messaged me earlier on today about something similar, and my immediate response was, "Who's come up with those numbers?" Because
It was when I said 50% of people in the UK take supplements, wasn't it?
that was it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that sounds okay. Your immediate reaction is like, wow, okay, 50% of people take supplements.
But it might be that I take so many supplements, it's enough for 50% of the UK. That could be what they meant.
Yeah, but then you question it slightly, and you're like, what does that mean? Who's asked this question? What's the survey? What does the survey say? What's the supplement? Like
where did they ask these people?
All
what
of
that
that
for?
Yeah. And I've talked about critical thinking skills many times, and I think I've talked about it on this podcast. But like, what does that mean when someone says that to you? Because you can just take that at face value. You can take that at face value. 50% of people.
Well, 50% of us take over 30 supplements a day.
Well, fine. Take take it as X, Y, Z, whatever. But what does it actually mean? And if what it means is that if again, like I guess the term regularly brings it into immediate question, because you're like, well, what does regularly mean? But if what's behind that is like they did a survey of a bunch of people, and what was it, 50% of them said that they've taken a supplement in the last 30 days, then it's up to you whether that means people regularly take supplements. But obviously the news outlets,
If it's up to me, they all would.
well, fine.
So,
But that's kind of the problem, right? Is that all of this stuff is very vague to begin with, and when we're talking about adding AI into it as well, I mean, I really am worried that we are moving into a world where I can't believe anything that I see online. Or
no, we have moved into a world, I think.
Yeah,
we're there now.
And the reason that I raise that is because for the first time ever, and I'm obviously quite on it with respect to AI, for the first time ever, about 2 weeks ago, I went into a situation where and to be honest, like admittedly, like in retrospect, I would have been like, oh yeah, that was like AI content, sorry, but I followed a video link on YouTube which was talking about Max Verstappen, which is like, I'm interested in Formula One, so I was like, okay, clicked on this link. It was a video that showed Max Verstappen talking about all the work that he does around like encouraging new drivers into Formula One and all the rest of it. Like some of the almost like it presented itself as like charitable, and I wasn't really paying much attention. And it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not saying that Max Verstappen doesn't do this stuff, but like, I wasn't really paying much attention. I wasn't really on it. And I watched this video and I was like, oh, Max, like I'm British, so Max Verstappen for me is, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm a British Formula One fan. And so for me, this article, this like video that was talking about how Max Verstappen was really into his sim racing and how he's been promoting it for all these years, and how it's like working with the community and all the rest of it. Like I was like, okay, actually, everyone in the UK hates this guy, but actually he's probably all right. And it was only when I went into the comments that I realized that this video was probably fake. Like it was AI generated and all the rest of it. And people were saying, he doesn't speak like this. He doesn't present himself this way and all the rest of it. And for the first time ever, being someone who's super invested in AI and like we have this podcast and all the rest of it, like, and for someone who I thought that I wouldn't get caught out by this kind of thing, I genuinely got caught out by it. And I think I wasn't paying attention and I wasn't
but most people are not paying attention most of the time.
Yeah.
That's the point. You're flicking through, right?
Yeah.
So it's fine. I had a similar, in fact I sent it to you, the video. I had a similar experience. I think on Monday this week was the first time for me, and it didn't go very far actually for me. So there was a video, it was on a Chinese social media channel, but it was obviously a British video, and it was basically a reporter who was interviewing sort of older people, and they were talking about young people today and slagging them off and etc. And so it was a load of interviews. They all took about 10-15 seconds because that's as long as AI video can run. The first one I didn't think about. The second one I went, oh, hang on. Like, how beautiful is this presenter? But not just how beautiful is she, but how perfect is she? Like, there was not, it was kind of flawless. And that was the obvious thing. And it gave it away one video in. But again, like, I already approach everything with I'm looking at it and thinking it might be fake. And it got me for the first 20 seconds. Like, and I picked it up, and the more you looked at it, the more obvious it was that, even the old people, it was like they were old, but their skin was like wrinkled and yet perfect at the same time. So we're kind of in that position at the moment that you can probably tell if you look at it. But like you say, most of the time anyway, you're not paying attention. Like you see some in the background and it's confirmation bias, isn't it? You're looking for something that is going to, fill that, to confirm the thing that you already want to think. And as soon as you see that video, like you're almost less, as long as you believe it, you're less inclined. It's like your brain is kind of telling you like to not ask that question.
I think this is the problem. Like I think until it took over video, and the video stuff right now is relatively,
it's everywhere, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's everywhere, but it's not very
but like in the last month, it's just exploded, like the amount of AI video.
Yeah, and it's not very sophisticated, but like the thing is, like, it's not very sophisticated, but if it captures a significant amount of people, then it doesn't matter. And it's only going to get better and better and better. Like, this is the thing with all of this AI stuff. It's like, I got caught out by something that was, I would say, relatively sophisticated, but I still got caught out by it momentarily. I don't know. The thing that worries me the most is that I don't know if I've been caught out before. Like I will acknowledge that I got caught out by this and then realize that I had been, but I don't know if I've been caught out before.
The Obama and Trump video is not real, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Did that catch you out?
But this is going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
So
and also, to be fair, there's a lot of people, like probably not a large percentage, but there's definitely a lot of people who would have seen that video and believed it. And if you wanted to believe it because you already thought that's what, then you see that video and then it's like, yeah, I don't even need to see the whole video. I see a few seconds about, I fucking told you so. See?
But that's where we're heading, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big warning to people is like, I mean, if you listen to our podcast, then I think we are at the point where like you really need to seriously question everything that you see online. Is it real? Is it not? There are some telltale warnings or signs at the moment. So, for example, what Matt said, where like if you ever see a video that has like really relatively short cuts, like a few seconds, and then it's clearly a different cut and a cut and a cut and a cut,
yeah, over and over and over and over.
Yeah, if you see something like that, then I think that's like a fairly clear sign. But the problem is that's going to go away pretty quickly. And this is the thing. It's like, again, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, or express it this way, but this is the worst it's ever going to be. And that's what a lot of people say. And so, I don't know how long it will be until it's like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And then you can have a whole podcast that's actually completely fake.
But Okay, I'm going to sort of play devil's advocate, and I'm actually going to be slightly more positive about it here. I wasn't planning to spend that much time on this section, but I think this is a really interesting point. I think when you said this is the worst it's ever going to be, I actually also think this is the worst it's ever going to be in respect of what you're talking about. And I don't mean today or this week, but I mean this year or the next couple of years, because I think we get to a point, and this is sad in a way, but we're going to get to a point pretty quickly where exactly what you said will happen. You just see a video, it's meaningless. Like a long time ago, I read this thing. This is the thing that really kind of changed my mind on this stuff is at some point in history, if something was written down, then it was taken to be the truth,
Fact,
right?
yeah.
Fact. And then people realized that just because someone writes something doesn't make it true. Then the same happened with photography and pictures. And then people realized it wasn't true. Video was the last remaining one, CCTV evidence, etc. We just move into a world in which video just becomes like all those other forms. The problem comes with all that stuff that one, it's a rocky road to get there, but also there are enough people who are not looking for the truth. They're just looking for confirmation of what they think. And therefore, it's almost like I said, in their head, there's a kind of, I don't want you to know whether this is real or not. I just want you to confirm to me. So it's used to incite, right? And this is where it's really dangerous. It's used to incite. It's used to cause harm and pain because it knows that you can find that kind of emotional, sort of path with people where they're looking for something, but the thing will enrage them and they don't need to see it all. It's even just a glimmer of that is enough. But I still sort of don't see, is that different from a picture? If you see a video of someone stabbing someone to death is worse than a picture, but actually it's still conveying the same message. Like the point is that you've just got to get to a point where you're like, well, just because I've seen it doesn't mean it's true. It's just someone's made a video. Like someone wrote that doesn't make it true. It will become the same with the video. And therefore you just, you get sort of much more hopefully to you see and live in the world around you. Maybe it'll push people to living more in the moment and in the space that they exist in, because that's all you can see and you don't dismiss the things around you. Your feeling and the sort of micro world that you live in becomes far more important to you.
I kind of agree. I just feel like with respect to what we have available to us right now, what world do we live in? And I'm not talking you and I'm not talking about like necessarily anyone in particular, but like if you've always been able to trust something online. There's always been a lowest common denominator, right? So, okay, so you can't trust what people write. Okay, fine. Okay, so we say that okay, I'm it's written down, but I'm not sure about it. You can't trust images, so then you get to the point where you're like, well, okay, someone's made this image, but I'm not sure about it. Okay, I necessarily can't trust images. It feels like video and real time footage is the last thing that you can trust.
Yeah, okay, but 100 years ago, there was no video. I mean, it existed, but people didn't have video all the time. And so, and they already knew that just because something was written down doesn't make it true. But they had to make decisions based on the word that they did see in a newspaper and the pictures that they saw. So, like, it's not like a world has never existed where we haven't had video as a thing that we knew was true.
I disagree. Like, I think that if you look at the reason that I trust some of the things that I watch on YouTube is because there's a real person behind it talking about their real experience.
Yeah.
And in a world where everything can be AI generated, I don't know where that trust goes.
But doesn't that mean that people will then reject AI? And I'm not saying reject AI in all uses, but, then we do have people that we know are real people. Because we know that this person appears on this channel and that's the real them.
But how are you going to verify that?
Yeah.
I mean,
because they've told me, but then they've told me is an AI algorithm that's telling me. And
I agree with you in principle. Like, I trust a lot of the stuff that I watch online because I trust that channel to behave the way that they do right now. But like, if you can replace that with, if I could spoof that channel with.
So that's what I was going to say. Is let's use the BBC, which is not, certainly doesn't have the credibility it used to have, but I think in the minds of a lot of people in the UK still has more credibility than most sources. So let's say that we know that who am I going to use as a credible person? Let's use Gary.
Who's Gary?
Gary. Economics Gary.
Gary Stevens.
Yeah. Let's use him. He tells us that he only now appears on the BBC. That's his platform. And so we know that if we're watching the BBC and Gary is on the BBC, we know that it's the real Gary. But I guess your point is, but then someone can just beam in fake BBC with fake Gary. So we don't actually know, even if we think we know where Gary is.
We're heading to a world where I can sit here and pretend to be Gary Stevenson from Gary's Economics.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I know that if I want to see the real Gary, I go to the BBC. So it would be a bit more elaborate because you'd have to create your fake Gary video and then you'd have to somehow sort of get that so that people think they're watching the real platform.
But that's getting more and more realistic every day. Like right now, I think right now we're at the point where if you wanted to create a fake Gary, you could probably clone his voice.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be perfect, but it would probably be quite close. He kind of just sits in his kitchen and has a bit of a chat with people. So that's not hard to AI generate. Like, I mean,
no, it's not. I'm not disagreeing with this. But what I'm saying is, you make your fake Gary video and you stick it on YouTube and call it Gary, right? And then I watch it. But what I'm saying is, if Gary tells me the only place the real me is on the BBC at 2:00 on a Tuesday, right? And then I know the only place the real Gary is Gary on 2:00 on a Tuesday. I know lots of people can still get kind of caught up in it, but I'm saying like maybe that's where we move to. I'm not saying that it's not impossible that if I watch that someone very powerful, like a state actor or a powerful non-state actor, could interrupt a broadcast and put in a fake Gary. So it's still possible, but I'm saying it's not as simple as like everyone in their bedroom can just make fake Garys.
I agree.
Well, they can, but they can't.
I agree, but I think we're heading really fast towards that kind of world.
Towards the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I genuinely think we're heading really fast towards a world where you can probably put out a fake narrative about anything you want to.
Mm.
I genuinely think that.
So sticking for a moment, because we went massively off track, but I think it was really like a really interesting conversation. But sticking to this idea about like where AI is failing to meet our expectations. One thing that I thought is cost challenges and the kind of costs of AI, because I think one of the things that was marketed was it's just going to get cheaper and cheaper and it's just going to be easier and easier and like, you know, it's going to be basically free. And what I found is actually the opposite. I'm not saying that like, of course, like the more frontier models come out and then other models go down in price, obviously. But one thing I've noticed, particularly in the last few weeks, is that the kind of premium packages, everyone had their $20 a month, £20 a month package. Then I think it was OpenAI first had their £200 a month package, and then everyone's kind of followed with their like Pro Plus tiers. And then now the rate limits seem to be increasing. Like Claude in the last couple of weeks has put in sort of new limits, and I found a lot of times, like admittedly I'm doing stuff that is using a lot more resource, but I'm having chats within projects within Claude where for example, one where I wanted it to not a deep research project, but like an extended thinking, and I had 10 questions and it was like the chat's too big and I had to split it into 5 questions and 5 questions. And so this idea that AI is just going to get cheaper and cheaper, it feels like that's not necessarily happening. And it feels like certainly like in terms of subscriptions, which I think is fine because actually like the amount of energy it was using, like they were doing this at a loss basically to use it for training data. Like that's the reason why the models are free, not because they're giving us free AI. But it feels like that's something that for me is a disappointment, that it's getting more expensive, I feel. Like to use the frontier stuff, like you use ChatGPT, the free version, like you can't do much on it before it tells you like come back at 2 a.m.
I think, yeah, this is probably a natural direction. I think that it turns out actually it's costing a ton of money, but I don't know if that's not much of a surprise or not, because I mean it's a surprise that it's kind of hit users as quickly as it has, but it was obviously going to. I mean, they must have had the equations and all the rest of it to work out like fairly straightforward calculations that you could put on a spreadsheet that would be like, okay, if everyone uses.
But did they underestimate the number of users?
I don't know. But it should be pretty obvious that if everyone's going to use it, then it's going to cost a ton of money. So I think, but it's one of those, isn't it? It's like Amazon. It's like all these things. It's like a really esoteric. Oh, it's going to make money at some point in the future.
Yeah. They're worth 100 billion trillion, and yet like they're losing 500 billion a year. It's like, okay, but this is kind of, they might be worth that. It's just like venture capital money, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like one of them will work out, but actually none of them are actually making any money. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know if you've seen, but some of the projections for like the value of Anthropic, it's like in 2 or 3 years' time is like getting on for like, it's like 60% of the value of ChatGPT, of OpenAI, like massive projections. But then it's like, okay, wow, they're worth that much money. But it's like, are they making any money? No. Like, at some point they need to make money. And that's kind of like, I do think we're going to get a bit of a shakeout at some point.
It's not that they never will.
But
like
they won't all make money.
They won't all make money. And Amazon have proven this and all the rest of it. Like it's a proven business model of like, we're gonna make money at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But that future is mysterious.
And one of you is going to make so much money if you invested in all 6 of them. It doesn't matter if 5 go out of business, because
if you're the Amazon. So yeah, exactly that. Like you know, you have to take all of it with a pinch of salt. Most of them are not making any money whatsoever right now. There are some incredible models out there that are really good, that are gonna, you know, change the whole world. And perhaps some of them will, you know, they'll be embedded in the robots that will be looking after people and doing incredible things, like providing value to the world that like you can't even imagine. Because we've talked about it in this podcast, like the idea is that they replace a lot of jobs fundamentally, and whatever the human impact of that is, the obvious monetary value of that is insane.
Yeah.
If you can come up with an AI that can replace people, then the reward is nuts. It's absolutely off the charts. And I think that's the whole point, right? It's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense right now because it's not doing that.
Yeah.
But that's what these
as long as
models,
you can keep people funding.
Well,
like,
that's what these models are going to do eventually.
Yeah.
They're going to replace people.
What? You mean we're going to lose our jobs?
Yes.
To robots?
We've been talking about this.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's why we started this podcast.
That was the actual name of the podcast originally. Like I still don't see a world, like we've been talking about this for many years. That was why we set the podcast up. I do not see a world where the whole point of this whole AI revolution is not ultimately AI will take your job one day.
So is it just to strip it back? Like, is the idea that it replaces your labour, or is the idea it replaces you? Because once you're not labour,
it doesn't really matter whether that's the idea or not. Like the fundamental reality of the whole thing is that whether it's a Tesla robot or a fucking PA, the ultimate version of a PA system, is
not a PA system, a PA.
A PA.
Yeah.
But it it replaces a whole bunch of people's jobs.
Yeah.
And it gets better and better and better at doing that until it's taken everyone's jobs. That's it.
Well, we're not talking about what happens next on this episode because we're supposed to talk about how it's underperforming, and therefore this underperforming means, you know, we've got a little bit longer until it replaces all those jobs.
It's definitely underperforming in terms of, I mean, I don't know whose predictions they are, but like our predictions were end of 2026, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's underperforming against the predictions of the people who need to keep getting funding for their AI businesses because they have an agenda to get that funding. And so they need the money to keep rolling in for the reasons we just said. And, you know, yes, they'll make money eventually, but they'll only make money eventually if they can keep being bankrolled to get to that point. So I think they're underperforming in that respect. But you're right, like the prize at the end of the game is so big that the industry will not fail, but the individual organizations might do.
May fail. Yeah.
I just think from a user point of view, though, like the point of well, I say this about sort of paid models, but on the other hand, you have got things like DeepSeek, which are, you know, completely open source and completely free. So I guess you have a choice whether you want to pay for these models. Like you don't have to pay for the absolute frontier model to still have like great usability. But I was looking at someone today, I was looking at Runway and the sort of the price of Runway for subscription, and then you get X amount of 15-second clips, and like it's a lot of money. And we're like, yeah, because it costs a hell of a lot to generate this stuff.
Videos, yeah.
They're no longer providing models basically to get your data. They've now got enough of a source for data that they're now saying, okay, well, we might not make any money out of you, but we don't want to lose so much. So you need to give us something back. So AI is now something, if you want to have a kind of premium version of Frontier model where you need to pay the same kind of thing as you used to pay for like a TV subscription or your phone or whatever, right? It's now a necessary expense for most people.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But you're someone who does. Oh no, you currently do subscribe to something, right?
I subscribe to abacus.ai, which gives you effectively it gives you credits to subscribe to lots of other models.
And Cursor.
I'm subscribed to Cursor as well.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a developer, yeah.
I've still got Claude, and I got a special offer of £10 a month for Google. So I've got Gemini at the moment.
Yeah, which I had for a while.
And
like,
what was the thing you talked about before?
So Abacus does give you a
Replit. I'm thinking of getting Replit now.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Replit. I mean, it's only because I'm an actual developer myself, and so I find giving up that much control is just too much.
Right.
Whereas, like, you know, with Cursor, I get to retain an element of control over what I'm doing. So it's not really about. It's about exactly that. Like what level of control do you want to have over it?
The last part I wanted to talk about on this sort of episode of AI not meeting expectations was like quite a personal one that I think when I got in touch with you last week about doing this podcast and you said, oh yeah, I've not really been keeping up with AI news, is like I read something about, and I don't know if this is true because you get both sides of this all the time, but like skepticism and fatigue amongst users and also like investors a little bit, but like the kind of hype dropping. And I thought like I have definitely like my interest in AI as a sort of business and as news and all that has definitely dropped. And at the same time, my use of AI has definitely gone up. So like I'm using it much more. I use it in a work context, use it in a personal context. I'm like using it all the time. I've got workflows for doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like genuinely now, like it's saving me time and allowing me to do things that I couldn't do before. And at the same time, I'm like the kind of news cycle of it, I guess, like I'm a bit fatigued about like, I just don't care anymore. Like I heard the other day, it's like ChatGPT 5's come in early in August and I was like, okay. And it was like, yeah, but and this is it's 2 years worth of development. And it's like, it's the next frontier and people don't even understand what's going to happen. You're like, yeah, okay. But then GPT-5, but then there'll be Grok 4, and then there'll be Claude 4, and it's like they'll all come out with something new. It's like it's not a big thing, but like, okay, it's only the biggest thing until the next thing. It's like the kind of hype cycle a little bit. Like, and again, I think like in a way is a sort of a good thing, the fact that you're now finding your practical uses rather than just being like, oh, there's a new model, there's a new model, there's a new thing, there's a new model. It's like maybe there'll be something like totally groundbreaking about this that will be like, we hadn't expected this, but for me is like another large language model, unless it's a fully agentic model, like until we get fully agentic stuff now, I think everything, to be honest, is going to be slightly a disappointment.
I agree. I mean, I think that the AI hype cycle has gone full circle and gone round and round and round. And I totally agree with you. Like, I think that right now, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in the world anyway. But
maybe that's it. There's other things that seem more interesting and important.
Yeah, so possibly, but also, yeah, like AI has slowed down to a certain extent. I think that the big thing for me is agentic. No, it's not agentic AI actually, but something approaching artificial general intelligence, which I still think is getting closer and closer and closer. And I don't think that we have an answer to that or a solution to that or a approach to. We certainly don't have a global approach to it, but like we're like it's such an esoteric thing, and I don't think that when it arrives we'll even realize that it's arrived, which is effectively, AI that can think better than people in all domains. And I think this is the thing. Like, I think that I feel like the more that AI slips into just being normal and feeling normal and being normal, it's going to take us by surprise, right? It's just going to be one day, oh, okay, Google came up with an AI that's better than that.
We did episode.
Better than's the wrong word, but like
more intelligent than
more intelligent than everyone, like anyone that has ever existed, more intelligent. And I feel like when that happens, it's going to happen without a fanfare.
We did an episode saying exactly the same thing, didn't we? It's not. There's not going to be. We thought at one point it was like you're going to wake up in the morning and it will be like on the news and everyone will be like, turn your phone on. They've announced it, and it'd be the conference and it's like, yes, well, last night at 3, in the morning at 3:46, we got AGI and it's like, oh no, they won the race and like, on one side of the world, and it's like, no, it will have happened, and then at some point people will be going, I think that's AGI, and then at one point everyone suddenly is like, oh, everyone now has accepted that it's AGI and it's already happened, and maybe it's already happened, like maybe that's the thing, maybe. But yeah, definitely it's not going to be something that's announced, and we won't know what it exactly means. Well, it can't be announced because we don't know what it is. AGI, no. We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is, but I feel like it's going to happen, and it's going to get at some point after it happens, it's going to be announced, and it's probably going to be too late. But I don't know what too late means, even in that context.
Too late for what?
Too late if it has any kind of desire whatsoever.
See, I don't think getting to AGI necessarily has to have consciousness or desire. Like getting to AGI just involves the ability to do all those things. Like I don't think the two things are mutually like they have to both happen. It doesn't have to have that desire in its own personality to be artificial general intelligence. It just needs to do all those things. Like the architecture we currently have is still based on basically, it's all based on training data and replication. And there is an argument now, I think, what's his name? Facebook Meta guy, Zuckerberg, has written an article, hasn't he? The Zuck, yeah, has written an article about how it's showing the first signs of its own thinking. But what does that actually mean? Like, it's not necessarily thinking in a human context.
I think what it means is it has desires outside of its programming.
It's not programmed, though, is it? It's not the point.
Well, even
the point of AI is that it's not programmed.
Even if it isn't programmed, but like, how do you? I don't know. I don't know what the definition is,
Yeah.
but I think we're getting close to that. I think we're getting close to machines that don't behave the way that we program them
Want them to.
or want them to.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to define that as consciousness, then fine. But I think we're getting close to that.
Yeah. And then what do we do?
Hope that they
pull the
agree
plug
with-
out.
Hope that they agree with us. to
Hope
be
that they're
honest.
benign.
Yeah. Hope they haven't read that Reddit thread that we've all read.
I haven't read it.
Yeah.
You've read
well,
it. You
maybe.
wrote it.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Though.
Well, I feel this episode has sort of gone off track from where we originally intended to, and I think it's sort of ended up a little bit of a sort of depressing episode. But I'm not sure
In what
whether.
way?
Well, I'm not sure whether we've finished off with kind of AI has disappointed in the sense that like it's not lived up to its expectations, or whether we've ended up with that AI is disappointed because it's headed in a direction which to be fair we've talked about a lot of times on the podcast, but like where we just don't know what to do with it and we don't know whether it's going to be okay and we don't know how to handle it. But it definitely feels like that was a different interpretation of not living up to expectation, but it's still a very valid one. In fact, it's probably a more valid one, to be honest.
I'll be honest. Like I've often been the optimist, but like I don't think that AI. It's not just AI actually. I don't think that technology is taking us into a good place. Like I think that if we can get away from technology and get back to what it is to be more human,
Yeah.
then that's not necessarily a bad thing. And like it's really tricky because I've always been excited by technology. I've always been excited by it. I'll be honest, and maybe this is me coming out a little bit, but like, yeah, I don't think this side of technology is doing us any good.
Yeah.
So, the original premise of the podcast was to talk about the impact on jobs and things like that. And
Which was not a positive.
which is not
thing,
necessarily
was it?
positive, but do I, being honest, like, do I think any of that's positive? Like, do I think that like the idea that we live in the confines of having to have a job in the first place is like it's not straightforward, is it? Like being human is not straightforward. And so why do we feel like we need a job? It's because we feel like we need purpose. And so what's the deeper roots of that? Well, and we've talked about this in our podcast, like, okay, maybe getting rid of the fact that we need to have a job and allowing ourselves to think outside those confines means that purpose can actually be broader than that. And so I still believe in that, but I don't. I guess this episode I've kind of struggled a little bit because I'm like, my heart's not really in it because I believe that humans need purpose, but I don't think that purpose should be having a job where you go to work every day and do the same thing over and over again. I don't think it fits particularly well for people at all. And so, I mean, maybe that's got nothing to do with AI. Maybe AI is just the kind of realization that we're all trapped in this system.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't think I think we've talked about exactly this point many times, usually towards the end of an episode, because we usually end up in that kind of space where we're trying to talk about like actually from a sort of more negative view on AI about like it always seems to draw back to this like what it is to be human, right? And what it is, and I think like when I talked in the earlier section about how like to do this episode we're a bit kind of like, oh well, actually I haven't been keeping up with AI stuff, is part of the fact is like I said, I'm a bit bored of the kind of news part, but I'm just using it, and it is becoming kind of normal into everyday life. But also like the things that I'm really into, the sort of health stuff, is like, it's about humans, it's about feeling better, it's about living a better life, it's about like, being able to live longer, etc., etc. And, when I was away on holiday, like I had a week and a half where I didn't have my UK SIM card. It wasn't working. So I didn't turn on my Chinese SIM card. And then I just didn't have a phone when I went out, and I was away from sort of the information cycle and technology. And it was just like, I could measure my heart rate variability on my Apple Watch had gone up for that time. It's like my stress levels were reduced. I was more connected with the now. And again, that's technology, not just AI, and AI is not all technology, but it does really feel like if we're going to use AI as a tool to make things better, like we actually need to concentrate on the time that is like the part of the world that is not AI, and use AI to free up the time to do that stuff, rather than just to be like completely immersed in everything being AI run. So like, that's the promise, isn't it? Like I've said it many times, I think like AI is being done to us, not for us. But if it is done for us, it's like, it's there to take away the stuff that is shit, and it's there to make stuff better. But it doesn't feel like that's the way that it's being used. It doesn't feel like the way it's headed.
So do you think, and maybe this is crazy to have this conversation right now on air, so to speak, but do you think we should change the angle of everything that we're doing and everything that we're talking about to be more about that? And not that it won't have an AI angle, because AI is like obviously a part of that, but like, do you think that this is what we really want to be talking about, rather than making every episode I'm not saying contrived, but somewhat contrived episode about AI? Because I've really enjoyed talking to you about AI over the last year and a half, and I've really enjoyed being part of this podcast and all the rest of it. But like, if that's what we want to talk about, then why don't we talk about that?
But I think this podcast started out about jobs, and then it became about the human and social impact of AI. And I think the view from that has always been about trying to raise people's awareness about the importance of like mitigating those impacts, actually. So maybe you're right. Maybe we need to get back to more of that. Like maybe we need to somehow try and combine AI with like ways to live your life better away from AI. Maybe.
I think so.
As you can tell, if you're listening, like this wasn't a planned conversation, but I definitely think just talking about AI over and over again without finding solutions and offering ways, if we both feel that that's the important thing.
Well, I think it is, because we've always, like, one of the founding principle of our podcast was we were going to talk about how people can learn to deal with and cope with AI. So it was actually talking about job by, like, role by role. How we're gonna, how can you deal with this? How can you cope with this? How can you adapt to this situation? And I think things have moved on quite a lot since when we first started. And so, actually, like, why not get back to that? Why not get back to talking about the I don't know, but the human and social impacts of AI, which I don't know. I think I feel like it's not that I haven't talked about that at all. Like, of course we've talked about that, but like, it's, I don't know. We're trying to pigeonhole ourselves a little bit, I guess.
Well, I think that's a good point to leave it on as we go into the other room to discuss the future of our podcast, preparing for a world without AI. So the next episode could be about anything. We did want to do some interviews. Maybe we'll interview someone nothing to do with AI, about how you can live a better life and mitigate the dangers of AI. But we'll think about it. We'll churn out a song for you before we do. And we will be back with an episode of a podcast, which may or may not be called Preparing for AI.
Yeah.
Have a good week.
Two seasons down, we've walked this road, talking algorithms, breaking the code, but Jimmy's got science burning in his chest, and Matt's got healing he wants to express. The same old questions, we've asked them all. Now it's time to answer a different call, 'cause AI's not just circuits and dreams, it's woven through everything, or so it seems. So here's to the revival, here's to what's real, Jimmy's politics and the science we feel. Matt's got supplements and Jesus to share, functional medicine and the power of prayer. We're tired of the echo, the same old refrain. Season 3's coming, let's break these chains. AI's in everything, so let's explore the things that we love and so much more. From economics to the cells in our veins, from positive thinking to political gains, we've been holding back what we want to say. Now it's time to let our passions play. The future's not just what machines will do, it's how we live and what we're living through. 'Cause AI's not just circuits and dreams, it's touching our lives in ways unseen. So here's to the revival, here's to what's real, Jimmy's politics and the science we feel. Matt's got supplements and Jesus to share, functional medicine and the power of prayer. We're tired of the echo, the same old refrain. Season 3's coming, let's break these chains. AI's in everything, so let's explore the things that we love and so much more. From the lab to the chapel, from Wall Street to Maine, every story connects in this digital age. Like the walls of Jericho, we're breaking them down. God's given these guys a mission, they're ready to go now. No more boxes, no more playing it safe. It's time to be human in this AI space. So here's to the revival, here's to being free. Jimmy and Matt, just let yourselves be. Talk about the world through the lens that you see. Season 3's calling, wild and free. AI's the thread, but we'll weave the tale of the things that matter when all else fails. Two seasons down, but we're just getting started. From preparing for AI to being wholehearted, the future's unscripted, the mic's turned on. Let's see where this revival takes us from here on.